Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and this is a follow-up with the Dialtune Snare Drum. So, I've had it now for a couple weeks, and I've played it every day, and I've got to say that I love it. I have had some email correspondence with the company, and I asked some questions. It turns out that the problems I was having getting the heads on and off was totally my fault. I was not loosening the head enough. So it seemed like it was completely loose to me and wrinkled, but you have to actually go 4 or 5 more turns after that. So that's the issue. So it kind of bottoms out. There is no stop on these dials, which makes you a little nervous because you don't want to, anything to fall off or the cable to have an issue. But if you loosen it enough, it's not a problem, which I'll show you today. And I did manage to tuck a calf head. That's what you see on the drum right now. And I just tucked it and I just put it on here. So it's a little low. I keep bringing it up. That's the way these things work. They stretch out. So hopefully I won't break it. Feels great, and this is so amazing to be able to change the tension so quickly. Some of you asked me questions on the video, the comments. I did answer most of them as I had time to do so, but I didn't answer all of them, so I'll answer them today. One reason I was bottoming out both dials is because I needed to have a starting spot. So in other words, when I loosened the heads, when you saw me when I had the drum isolated over there, I was loosening both knobs. You do not need to do that to change the top head. The reason I was doing it so I would keep both heads consistent going up, and then I could get to a point where I like where the bottom head was, and then keep raising the top, which is what I normally do when I tune my snare drums. The bottom head is a little bit lower than the top. As you bring the snares on, that actually raises the head, usually about a third or a minor third. So somewhere around there because of the pressure of the snares on the head. All right, so I'll normally tune my bottom snare drum head just a little bit looser. You can't do that on the WTS, the Welsh tuning system drums. It tunes the heads the same, which is not always desirable, like I explained in that first video. So I'm extremely happy now that I can use calf, but I did have to tuck a head. So let me loosen this thing up and I'll show you. So I'm going to loosen the bottom now. That's the left, all right? I've learned. And now I'm going to loosen the top, which is the right. Way, way loose. Like almost till falling off. So you'll feel the head. You'll keep your hand on there, and you'll feel it wrinkle, and then go way past that. Way past that. And I'm still going. And then, voila, no problem. So it was user error. I think they should include some instructions with it, and maybe they do. Since I bought the drum used, it had a little card with it, but that's it. I think they should tell you that don't be afraid to loosen it all the way. The knob's not going to fall off, the cable's not going to fall off, and there you go. So now that I tucked this for the first time, it's actually a little bit moist still, and it's really on there tight, taking it off, but there you go. And you see how I tucked it. All right, I did this in the bathtub, and it's a good calf head. I got this from a bigger old bass drum head that was broken, and I cut out some tambourine heads, and this was the last piece of it. So it's a little bit thin, so I don't want to hit it too hard, but it's great. And I'll show you the tucking there. And that's what you have to do. You have to tuck it on a wood rim. So I had some old wooden hoops from my old calfskin heads that had broken, and it has to have a good maybe 3/4 of an inch between the bottom of the head to the top. The problem with those Lafima heads was they had metal rims and there's not a lot of space, which is good for a regular snare drum, but won't really work for this well. So anyway, that's what you'll need to do. Earth tone heads will work because I know that I tucked this just like an earth tone. I don't have an earth tone here, but it's the same exact thing. So don't worry about that. And they're readily available, those heads. So they will work. And then just pop it back on now that it's straight and broken in, and there you go. I also see this as a way to actually straighten out some of these rims that I have. In other words, the frames for the calfskin heads. I'll put them on here, and I'll tighten the crap out of it, and I'll leave it for a few days, and I bet that will straighten out some of these. So it's, in a way, it's a little bit of a jig for fixing a lot of these old crooked heads that I have. So I'm really happy with that calf. So I've also tried lots and lots of heads on here. My favorite so far, like I said, is this Weather King Diplomat Fiberskin. The skin tone heads sound great. It's been my experience so far for a couple weeks, the thinner the head, the better this drum sounds. More responsive, liver. If I put a thicker head on there, like you heard that power stroke, it can sound a little bit choked. There's so much weight on this drum. This is such a heavy drum that has something to do with it, I think. The rim is very heavy. Everything's heavy on it. So thin heads is the ticket. If you play really hard, though, you're going to want to use at least an ambassador, or a power stroke works really well too. Okay, so we heard this head already last time. Let's try this jingle head. I just got this. A friend gave me a few of these. You guys have seen these. These are made by Attack. A lot of companies make these things now, and I'm curious to see if this will work. All right, I got it. You got to really, really, really loosen it, like 10 turns beyond what it's normally. That's the trick with this thing. So don't be afraid to do it. All right, now I'm going to tighten her up, and then I'll bring up the bottom as well, so we get them kind of even. Although that top is so loose. It's going to take me a little while to get it up here. I might have to fast forward. All right, let's see what we got. Does not like this head. It's cracking. Not great, but interesting with the little jingles here. I've never used one of these heads before. He wanted me to try it out. It's okay. I don't know what I'd use it for, but it's kind of a cool effect. I am convinced now that any head will work on this, because this was a weird head. We went through, he had about 50 heads, and I went through and tried to find the strangest ones, and this was sitting in there. And it was very, very thin. So I think we got it. I think any head will work on this now. We're going to take this off. And you just got to loosen the hell out of it, really. Just keep going and going and going. And every head I try is a little bit different like that. But it comes off so easy now. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this other head. By the way, that's what that looks like, this jingle head. Again, I probably would never use this thing. And it looks like that these little pin things are coming loose, so I don't know how well this thing is made. All right. So we'll put this Fiberskin back on. That's kind of been what I've been using for the last week or so, just playing around with it. And it'll go on. This will go on pretty easy now because it's, oh yeah, no problem at all. That's a standard head. Everything is normal. So anything by Aquarian works, Evans, Remo. I've tried all those heads. They all don't sound great on this drum, again, because they're thick. The thinner the head, the better. But the calf, I was very, very glad I was able to do that. So now I'm going to explore that today with calf. We're going to put this back on there so you could hear it as a reference. So that's a super low tuning. One thing also that was fun to experiment with was the snare buzz off of the toms, and you can actually experiment very easily by turning the bottom head pitch and getting rid of that. So now it's really bad, but when we bring it up and the top head, it's going to be a lot less. So that's another plus. So instead of spending a long time tuning your snare and your toms to get rid of that sympathetic thing, you can do it really quickly. Hardly anything. I'm getting actually more hum from my cymbals and the toms than I am from the snare drum. So really, you saw this stuff in the other video. I played a lot then. But it's any tuning you can experiment with. There's a few things that I would like them to add. So when I talk to them with them again, I'll talk to them about. But they need some sort of maybe stop or setting control or some way to repeat a setting. You can count, but the problem is it doesn't bottom out. So you could count rotations, but you have to loosen the thing so much, it's very, very confusing. So that's one thing. You can also try tuning with pitch. So in other words, just and then lower. And then try it with the bottom. And then when you turn that on, it's going to be very low. And then start there, and then you do both dials together. Okay, that's what I suggest. So you get a pure tone with the snares off, and then you do that, and then you adjust from there. To me, that's a good classic, you know, superphonic kind of sound. So it feels good there. And then, of course, like I did in the other video, you can get it uber tight here. I've tightened this thing up where I thought the cable was going to snap, almost like a piccolo. So. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend this drum. I'm going to get a wood one probably, and maybe even a real heavy brass one. And I'm going to talk to them, if they'll listen, about developing an orchestral drum, which I said in the last video would be ideal to be able to have one snare drum for Pops concerts. In fact, I have a concert next week. We're doing a whole Broadway show. I'm going to bring this drum and play with the orchestra, and on different tunes, like we're doing some stuff from Chicago, which is jazz stuff, some stuff from Wicked, just all kinds of, some Mamma Mia, those, you know, ABBA tunes. I'm going to change the tuning of the drum to make it fit into those styles. So that should be a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you soon.